right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Another active weather pattern is developing as we get closer to Mother's Day, when the shower and storm chances ramp up around St. Louis.
Tick-tock. Time running out for Missouri to spend $3 billion in COVID relief money. Tonight, our I-Team tracks how much has been spent and how much is left. Our top story, they live next to buried radioactive waste for decades. Tonight, some answers for Bridgeton residents.
We know, based on the data that we have collected, that there is no off-site exposure.
The EPA's plan to clean up a nuclear dump.
Just minutes ago, a public meeting wrapped up discussing the next steps to remediate World War II-era nuclear waste at the Westlake landfill. Good evening, I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. Tonight, that radioactive material was dumped there in the 1970s. It is just feet away from the Bridgeton landfill, where an underground fire has been burning for years. Here's our Laura Barczewski. She was at tonight's meeting, where no specific timeline was given on when cleanup will begin.
That's right, Mike and Ann. Tonight, the EPA released their findings from their investigation and research at the Westlake landfill. That was actually just completed. Now they have to move on to the pre-cleanup work, which they don't really know how long that's going to take, and then they can finally move on to the cleanup process. The Environmental Protection Agency says radioactive waste from World War II was dumped at the Westlake landfill between July and October of 1973. At a public meeting, the Department of Energy did claim some ownership of this waste.
We are funding this because we're a potentially responsible party.
The Department of Energy told a group of concerned residents they aren't going to stand in the way of this cleanup.
I want this cleanup to occur just as much as you do. There's a group of folks that need to decide what the proportions are. Whenever that is determined, obviously all the parties are going to sign to that particular agreement.
The EPA says their research shows the radioactive waste is mostly contained to a 200-acre site at the Westlake landfill.
Currently, there is no off-site exposure or health risk to the waste that's contained within the Westlake landfill.
But they couldn't speak to any previous exposure or health risks created by the site. Residents like Dawn Chapman, who have been fighting for the cleanup of this waste, say it's affected the health of their families.
I've watched it happen to my friends. I've watched it happen to my best friend's granddaughter, who it was found in utero. So, I mean, I always knew, of course, that it could hit my family, but it's hard to process.
The EPA investigation shows the material is really deep because waste was dumped on top of it into the 1980s, and they found radioactive material as close to 1 foot from the surface. The EPA will now move on to pre-cleanup work. That will take months, and once that is done, the cleanup will begin. And it will be a lengthy process as described in their document.
The Record of Decision Amendment calls for a partial excavation with off-site disposal of the radioactive waste and the installation of an engineered cover over the landfill.
The EPA website says the next step in the process is the remedial design work, and that is scheduled for July through September of next year. Reporting live from Bridgeton, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
Right now, crews are on the scene of a serious crash involving a motorcycle on 270 near West Florissant in North County. This is video from about an hour ago. Within the last 20 minutes, all westbound lanes reopened. We're told the crash involved a motorcycle and the motorcyclist was taken to the hospital. No word on how many other cars were involved. Just a few hours ago, family, friends, and co-workers honored 2 siblings struck and killed on I-170.
It happened in North St. Louis County over the weekend. Our Robert Townsend was at tonight's memorial.
Talked to both of them on Friday.
Howard Bounds lights up when he thinks about 2 shining stars of their family, his niece, Crystal Bounds, and his nephew, Harvey McGee.
Crystal was a great leader, helped everyone, helped brothers, family members, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews.
Big hearts, Harvey and Crystal. Every time you see them, they were smiling.
On Friday, Crystal and Harvey celebrated his 29th birthday. A relative says early Saturday morning, their fun took a tragic turn.
Anytime you lose one loved one, so 2 is definitely traumatizing.
No one knows why the brother and sister were standing in the roadway on Interstate 170 when a Chevrolet Silverado struck them both in the northbound lanes. Crystal died at the scene. She was a 39-year-old mother of 3 and a kindergarten teacher at Katie Wright Elementary School in East St. Louis. Harvey had 2 kids and worked as a banquet server at the Renaissance Hotel near St. Louis Lambert International Airport. He died at a hospital. The driver of the Silverado wasn't hurt. A Missouri State Highway Patrol spokesman tells me the reconstruction team spent the day out here in this North County area. They talked to several business owners, hoping to find any possible surveillance video that could help them piece together the deadly accident.
We'll probably get some answers down the line, but you know, allowing the family to grieve.
Tonight, their focus, uniting in love.
But it's good to see that so many other people know how amazing they were and just they touched so many hearts.
Comforting each other, lighting candles, and releasing balloons for their two loved ones. Gone too soon. Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
Tonight, a veteran deputy with the Illinois State Police is recovering after being shot while trying to help a stranded driver. This happened overnight on Interstate 64 near Mount Vernon. At some point, the trooper and 23-year-old Brandon Griffin from New Mexico got into an altercation and gunfire was exchanged. Griffin was shot and killed. The trooper was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. People in town are calling him a hero.
God bless him, anybody, for being out there in law enforcement. I mean, it is a very scary time, and it just seems every day you turn on the, we keep getting alerts on our phones that, you know, somebody else, there's a shooting elsewhere, and it's getting closer and closer in smaller towns, and something needs to be done.
The trooper, who is a 16-year veteran of the department, is expected to be okay. The shooting remains under investigation.
New fallout tonight in the St. Louis courts, just days after Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner announced she is resigning. There were 4 trials assigned to prosecutors today who no longer work in Gardner's office. Prosecutors asked the judges for continuances. All were granted. Some of them have been continued beyond Gardner's resignation date of June 1st. That means longer times in jail for some of the accused and longer wait times for victims.
It means that there's a chance that those cases won't get met when they should be. And the alternative at that point, in our opinion, is the person should be either released or the case should be dismissed. And the court has the power to do both of those. But ideally, those court dates would be met and we would have an opportunity to advocate for our clients in an efficient manner.
There is some help coming. A local defense attorney has been hired as a special prosecutor for one murder case. We've also confirmed Governor Mike Parson met with Mayor Tashara Jones yesterday and visited the courthouse today as part of his work to appoint Gardner's replacement. A spokesperson says he held a conference call with prosecuting attorneys in the area to, quote, discuss crime and finding a new candidate who values law and order and who can help restore faith in the city's criminal justice system and who represents the community. The person he picks will serve the remainder of Gardner's term, which will end in November 2024.
Tonight, new data suggests a security fix is not stopping thieves from stealing Hyundai and Kias. The software was designed to thwart thefts caused by a security flaw that was exposed on social media. But data gathered by the Associated Press from 7 U.S. cities, including St. Louis, shows that the number of Hyundai and Kia thefts is still rising. St. Louis is among the cities suing the automakers, accusing them of failing to install industry-standard anti-theft devices and placing an undue burden on city services.
We are less than 2 hours away from the start of Give STL Day. It is one of the largest efforts in our region to financially support local groups working to do good in our community.
5 on your side's Brent Solomon is live downtown after catching up with 2 groups who are part of this campaign. Brent.
All right, think about it. What makes STL great? It's not just the sports teams or the festivals, but it's also the people. And that's what Give STL is capitalizing on. People helping people. Something as simple as having somewhere to go after school.
We've been here since preschool.
Can change lives.
You know, they're not in the neighborhood. You know, they're not outside doing God knows what. They're here doing something positive.
It's why the Northside Youth and Senior Service Center takes its mission so seriously.
We come in, we eat at 3 o'clock, then we start doing our homework when we get done. Then at 5 o'clock, we have our free time.
Keeping young people focused and safe. The nonprofit runs off grants and your donations.
But we're trying to branch out, you know, offer opportunities for more kids, just, you know, not just in the Peabody, but other neighborhoods.
That's just one example.
Help make St. Louis a better place to live.
Over at Brightside, organizers offer what's called a demonstration garden to the public.
Enjoy a little respite and peace from the built environment out there.
The goal is to keep St. Louis beautiful. That means supporting volunteer groups.
And so community groups can borrow brooms, rakes, shovels, litter grabbers, get trash bags.
And then there's this.
Groups can get native plant material to improve public spaces in their own neighborhood. So they can turn a vacant lot into a community green space.
It takes money to do it. That's why these groups are hoping you'll give to keep the goodwill going. And there are more than 1,000 organizations who will be receiving donations all day long on Wednesday. All you have to do is go to the St. Louis Community Foundation's website. We've placed that link for you on KSDK.com. Mike.
Brad, thanks.
The giving gets underway at midnight. You can give as little as $10, and all donations are tax deductible. Just text the word GIVE to 314-425-5355. You can also go to ksdk.com/give to learn more.
Use it or lose it. Time running out to spend $3 billion in COVID relief to help Missouri students.
What's going to happen after next year? It's a little bit scary.
Tonight, the I-Team looks into how much has been spent and what happens when the federal funding goes away. Bud sales go light. Tonight, new sales data is in, and it's not good news for a St. Louis brew.
A noisy night in southwest Missouri is not expected to create an early wake-up call for St. Louis. What happens with that complex of storms? And we're looking ahead towards Mother's Day weekend.
Federal workers are no longer required to get the COVID-19 vaccine. President Biden dropped that mandate today. He also revoked the requirement for international air travelers. The new rules come just 2 days before the national COVID-19 public health emergency expires. Time is ticking for schools to use tens of billions of dollars in federal COVID relief money. It's meant to help students after learning challenges caused by the pandemic.
Our I-Team wanted to know how much was spent and how much time is left. Senior investigative reporter Paula Vassan got an inside look at how the money has been put to use so far.
At Beasley Elementary School in St. Louis County.
They have a new game for us. It's called the Great Race.
He's number 6.
You'll find Julie Wharton doing what she loves most.
Is she measuring in inches or centimeters? Inches. And I've always wanted to be a teacher. Show them that math is a positive thing and you can have a lot of fun in math.
Helping students like 11-year-old Aaliyah Abram catch up.
Especially like multiplying and stuff like that.
After 2 years of a virtual classroom.
Sometimes you would disconnect with the teacher, or you couldn't get into the thing on time, so they would tardy you. The internet wouldn't work, or you couldn't hear them properly, or like the microphones would mess up.
That must have been frustrating.
It was frustrating.
Which is longer, 1 inch or 1 centimeter?
So Wharton is now one of 34 new instructors, also called interventionists, spread out among 19 schools in the Melville School District. And it's thanks to $14 million in federal funding the district has gotten to offset learning loss caused by the pandemic.
Do you feel like the COVID learning loss is now wiped out?
It is not wiped out. We still have a lot of work to do.
Students here fell up to 2 grades behind in math and a full grade behind in reading following the pandemic. District officials say they've since cut that loss in half by spending the vast majority of their federal funding for more teachers, tutoring, and after-school programs.
Do you think the millions of dollars in federal funding is going to really help to close the gap? Is it enough?
At this point, I don't think it's enough. I think we need to continue providing the money and the resources for our students to learn.
In all, schools in Missouri are getting $3 billion, largely to help students catch up. Schools have until September to spend the next round of funds. And so far, local school districts are about 90% of the way there. They have to spend the final amount by September 2024, when the funding expires. So far, Missouri schools have divvied out about 40% of those funds, with about $1 billion left to spend. Beasley Elementary School's principal, Andrea Dean, says spending the money in time will not be a problem because the need is so great.
How do you feel about the fact that this funding has a 3-year limit?
That's a challenge. What's going to happen after next year? It's a little bit scary.
More than half of her students live at or below the poverty line.
if you had more poverty in your school district, you receive proportionally a larger amount.
Says Chris Neal with the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education.
You tend to see greater need, greater cost among students who are economically disadvantaged. It's the whole reason we have a federal interest in education, is to help level the playing field.
For students like Abram, it's a race to catch up.
Where do you line up your ruler?
And for teachers like Wharton, it's pressure to make up for lost time before time runs out.
I think we need to continue providing the money and the resources for our students to learn.
Many educators are worried about the federal funding coming to an end, saying these financial resources have been desperately needed. Their big challenge now is how to make the best use of these one-time funds, knowing they will not last forever. For the I-Team, Paula Vasan, 5 on your side.
And if you want to get in touch with Paula directly, just email her at paula@ksdk.com.
Sales of Bud Light continue to lose some fizz in the wake of a social media partnership with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. The controversy has sparked calls to boycott America's #1 beer brand. According to our partners at the St. Louis Business Journal, sales were down 23% year to year for the week ending on April 29th. The drop-offs have increased over the last few weeks. At the same time, sales for competitors like Coors Light, Miller Lite, they're up around 20%. Other Anheuser-Busch brands like Budweiser and Michelob Ultra are also seeing a drop-off in sales.
Well, it's Navy Week in St. Louis, and today some sailors showed up at a local high school, but they weren't there to recruit. The Navy band Great Lakes performed for Central Visual and Performing Arts students today. With no naval bases in the area, band members say it's a great way to educate them about this branch of the military.
It's important to us that we use music to connect with people, right? Music is a great, it really lowers the barriers between any sort of strangeness or a first meeting situation, because everybody, it's a universal language.
More than 75 sailors are in town this week. This includes the Leapfrogs. That's the Navy's parachute team and the Blue Angels.
Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell joining us now with the Weather First forecast.
Yeah, looking forward to the Blue Angels performing on Saturday over at Scott Air Force Base, hoping the weather cooperates. Tell you what, tonight's been pretty interesting watching on the radar screen. Look back here across the Ozarks into southwest Missouri. This was a complex of storms coming out of Kansas, dropping to the southeast. It's weakened. We expected that to happen, but it's also spilled the clouds into St. Louis. But that's not really what's fascinating about this. This is almost mesmerizing. You can just sit and watch the radar here, looping over the last hour or so, and just watch the spin in the radar echoes. This has created its own, if you will, little mini disturbance that's going to meander over the Lake of the Ozarks area overnight tonight and probably into early tomorrow morning. The good thing is it's not moving into a really humid, more muggy kind of setup that we had a couple of days ago. The air is much cooler. The humidity levels are down, but we're still going to get some of this rain to push into our southwest counties. So down into Phelps County, probably into parts of Gasconade, Dent County, maybe Reynolds County. You'll see some of these showers as they kind of drift in, but the whole thing's going to be falling apart. It's moving into a very unfavorable area to keep going. The problem is we'll still have that energy just kind of meandering across the bi-state area tomorrow morning. So the potential is there that we could see a spot shower or two around tomorrow morning. We don't think it's going to be all that impressive because it's not very warm and muggy here in St. Louis, and it won't be tomorrow. We have east-southeasterly breezes. That's dry air coming in from the Ohio Valley. So most of the rain is going to elude us, but with that kind of disturbance, that little, MCV is what we call it, that thing is just kind of meandering right around Lake of the Ozarks through St. Louis into tomorrow morning. That will give us at least a chance for a shower. Now, as we go into Thursday, into the weekend, this is when we're going to start seeing waves of showers and a few rumbles of thunder in there. First one comes in later Thursday morning through about midday, and then during the afternoon, another batch of showers, potentially some thunder, rolls in from the south during the afternoon into the evening. This is going to continue off and on through Friday into Saturday, even into Mother's Day. It looks like, though, Saturday is the warmest day out of the entire bunch. We're back into the mid-80s. Some of us, if we get enough sunshine, could push 90 degrees. That also could lead to a few stronger storms. And then we'll be pushing the rain chances south and east of St. Louis as we go through the day on Sunday. So Mother's Day is not a complete washout, but we probably will need the umbrellas at some point. 66 degrees right now. Our low this morning was 60. We were at 76 for the high. Overnight, temperatures will hold in the 60s from St. Louis west, going to the east, dropping into the 50s. Tomorrow, low 80s. Slim chance we'll get a spot shower around, but we don't think it's going to be anything widespread tomorrow. Better rain chances for Thursday and Friday. And yes, we'll still have some rain chances this weekend. Not a complete washout, but as we get closer, we'll try to fine-tune it even better.
All right, sounds good. Scott, thanks. Frank is here with sports.
Mike, it's Chicago versus St. Louis on the baseball field and the soccer pitch. Plus, the college basketball world lost a legend, and Redbud High School has one courageous athlete. Stick around.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
If you need money, you go to the bank. If you're sick, you go to the doctor. And if you're a struggling baseball team, you go to Wrigley Field to play the Cubs. It's often been a panacea for teams with poor hitting and pitiful pitching. Nolan Gorman is not just having a good start, it's the start of a really good career. His 8th homer of the season gives the Cardinals a 1-0 lead in the first. Lars Nootbaar is not far behind. This is 431 feet, his 3rd homer. His OPS is 855, and he is their best outfielder. The Cardinals needed Jack Flaherty to be good. Dansby Swanson didn't care. A 2-run bomb in the 3rd. Flaherty went 5 and allowed 3, but we'll take it. Bullpen, pretty good. Chris Stratton strikes out Eric Hosmer to end the 7th with the bases loaded. 9th inning, best redemption story. Paul DeJong, with his favorite moment of the year, a solo homer. He's hitting .350 with an OPS over 1,000. Stop the presses. The Cardinals have won their 3rd in a row. The final 6-4. They're only 8 games back, baby.
This 5 on Your Side St. Louis City SC coverage is sponsored by Together Credit Union.
City SC has 2 games this week in Chicago. The big one is Saturday. It's an MLS game. And City is just 1-3-1 in their last 5 games. But they are in great shape. City is in 2nd place in the 14-team West Division. Tonight, they face the Chicago Fire in the U.S. Open Cup. Neither team plays their best players, but the tempers did flare at the end of the first half. Late in the game, Miguel Perez, who's an 18-year-old from Pattonville High School, will score the goal in the header. It wasn't enough. Chicago wins 2-1, but what a thrill for the high school student. When I was in high school, I was a busboy. Celtics and 76ers, Game 5 in Boston. Jason Tatum tried to will his team to victory inside and later outside. He had 36. Not enough, though. Philly takes a 3-2 lead with a 115-103 victory. Al McGuire nicknamed Denny Crum Cool Hand Luke. He walked with a swagger and never looked rattled. He started coaching when leisure suits were in style back in 1971 in Louisville. And before he finished, 30 years later, Denny Crum would win 675 games. He would guide the Cardinals to 6 Final Fours and 2 national championships. Crum was enshrined in the Basketball Hall of Fame. The coach passed away today at the age of 86. He's a coaching legend who learned his craft from John Wooden at UCLA. Hey, let's head to Redbud, where the Musketeers have had an awesome season on the softball diamond. They're the conference champs for the first time in a decade. This team has extra motivation to play for as well. Senior pitcher Ashlyn Crafton was diagnosed with leukemia in the fall. She couldn't play in the field this season as she underwent treatment, but has been there for her teammates every step of the way.
She's been such a trooper through it all, and she's come to like everything that she can.
I can't believe how strong she is. She's totally amazed me. I mean, she's made it easier on me because she is so strong, you know.
Strong, positive attitude helps you get through a lot, and family and friends and support. It's the only way to get through tough times.
Love to see Redbud win a state championship.
Frank, thanks.
Forget free delivery, how you can earn some cash in receiving your Amazon orders.
Amazon is offering to pay Prime subscribers $10 to pick up their own orders. Packages can be picked up at locations like Whole Foods, Amazon Fresh, or Kohl's stores. It's all part of a move to cut costs on deliveries and returns.
Shopping online could help you fight inflation. New data shows prices for e-commerce have fallen 8 straight months. The items seeing the biggest drops: appliances, computers, electronics, sporting goods, toys, and home and garden supplies.
The Cardinals return to Busch Stadium next week, and you can get tickets as low as $6 to the Milwaukee Brewers series. They're also offering field box seats for just $16. You can buy them now while supplies last. It's all on the Cardinals website. And now that they're playing better, it's something to look forward to.
Right. When they get that prices get that low, I don't know that it's a good thing.
Well, they'll probably go up if they continue to play like this. There you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
We hope you start your day with this team today in St. Louis, beginning at 4 a.m.